Today we're joined by Jo Clark, Olympian and gold medalist of the Aussie Stingers women's water polo team in 2000. Jo, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jo, let's go right back to the journey of getting women's water polo included into the Olympic Games. What do you recall mostly of that journey?
I was pretty young, so I would have been about 17, still at high school at the time when we got included into the next Olympic Games. It would have been my final year in year 12. And I remember the girls going in for battle, going to the airport and crashing the meeting and just holding bated breath that we were going to be accepted into the Olympic Games for 2000, being a home game too. So, yeah. That's my main memories about the girls, but I know there's a lot of work that went on behind the scenes with lots of intricate people, with different details and communications and just that whole, getting women's sport front and centre too after the men had been there for so long. So I'd watched my brother go to the Olympic Games and he went to 2 Olympic Games, and I, as a little girl, wanted to go to Olympic Games and play water polo for Australia, and it kind of wasn't a dream until it got made reality, right before Sydney.
And tell us about being in year 12, as you mentioned, in 97 in Victoria.
Yeah.
What was it like being a Victorian then? Did you think in your wildest dreams that 3 years later you'd be representing your country at an Olympic Games?
Yeah, no way. So actually, year 12, I did over 2 years. So I did it in 96, 97. At the time, I was playing for the Australian junior team and was on the cusp of kind of making the Australian team, but was in the squad. So decided at the beginning of year 12 to split it over 2 years. And yeah, I can't even describe to you the feeling of what it was to go where being announced as eligible for the Olympic Games and then being one of the people that might be eligible for the team too. Like, there was a lot of work in front of us then, and there was a lot of different things that had to happen to get the right team in the water. But I was just so fortunate to be surrounded by a really great group of women as well. So there's the women before me that played in Melbourne, who just mothered me the whole way through. I came from a great club environment, so Footscray Swimming and Water Polo Club. I swam there from when I was a little kid, and I don't know, I just always had people looking out for me the whole way through, and not always give you the advice you'd want to hear or made it easy for me, but definitely carved and paved the way for me to be able to go to the Sydney 2000 Olympics.
And did you feel that a part of you was representing all those that had gone before you in the women's water polo team? We've heard descriptions of playing games the day before the LA Olympic Games, and that's as close as the girls got to an Olympic Games. Did you feel like you were playing for many generations before you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there were so many talented women that came before the Sydney Olympic Games, and I think we kind of took that on our shoulders a little bit, because we knew that not only were we representing the country, but we're representing everything that they embodied for women's water polo, not only in Australia but in the world as well. So so grateful that they were there, and also so sad for them as well, because what an opportunity that they didn't get to have that we did.
And then tell us a bit about the lead up to the Games, both yourself relocating to WA to train with the WA contingent, but then also the pre-camp at the Sunshine Coast.
So I was based in Melbourne, and as they called it, I think it was the ITC program back then, and was under the head coach Isfan in Melbourne, and we trained out of Hawthorn. And pretty much I got sat down one day and said, if you want to make it, you're going to have to relocate, because you can either keep training with the boys down here, which is what I did. I trained with the old boys at Melbourne High School and all the Melbourne National League kind of guys back then. However, yeah, it wasn't really a choice for me. And Isfan said to me, you know, you want to be one of the best defenders in the world, why don't you go and play on and train and live with one of the best centre forwards in the world at that time, Bridget Gustafson. And that was pretty much what I did. And Perth, you know, took me in with open arms too. I had a huge family over there. The Obermans took me in, so I lived with Nat Oberman prior to going into Kiwana Waters camp before Sydney Olympics. And yeah, it was good times. We had good times and trained under Gary and Gary Roberts in WA. Yeah, and I think being there kind of just paved or just kind of built the base of, okay, this is what life is going to be like for the next year, and particularly when we moved to Kiwana. So I was really fortunate to build those friendships with the WA girls. And then when we got over to Kiwana, I don't know, it just felt like home to me when we were there. And the community in Kiwana were just amazing too. So you've probably heard the stories that we got given bikes. I wasn't a great bike rider, so there was one bridge that we had to go over to get to weight training, and I remember I was wobbly the whole time trying to get over this bridge. And yeah, it was good times. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the support staff that assisted you all to get to the Olympic Games. You always had Gary in WA. You also had Jackie in New South Wales, Sharon in Queensland, and everyone really brought, under Isfan as the coaching director, brought everyone together.
Yeah, we had a phenomenal coaching staff for the Sydney Olympics, and they all worked on the same page. So as much as Isfan was the head coach, we had this amazing mentorship through the coaching staff as well. So Sharon, you know, I'm forever indebted to her. She was the one that she flew down to Melbourne one weekend and kind of drove me around in the car and got me with a really good swimming coach, Buddy Portier, in Melbourne, and pretty much like sat me down and said, if you want to do this, this is what you need to do. You need to train hard and you need to really work. And that was probably my turning point of, you know, not just taking things for granted and kind of, you know, I knew the game from watching my brother since I was born pretty much. However, to become one of the best, you need that support and that coaching staff to really, you know, tell you what you need to do, and you've got to follow through with that as well. Jackie was amazing because she was a past Australian player, so she just had that insight into games that you might be having a player in your head or giving you a hard time, and she was such an amazing player and in terms of tactical and just going in there and giving it 100%. So she would kind of get you and go, you know, you've got this, you can do it. And yeah, Jackie was actually my roommate at Sydney too. So because there were 13 of us, I was put my hand up to say I won't go with one of the teammates, but I'll go with the coaching staff. So I think being the youngest in the team, that kind of fell my way, and yeah, it was good times.
Let's fast forward to the first game. What was it like walking out on pool deck for the first game of Women's Water Polo Australia representing at the Olympic Games at Ryde Aquatic Centre?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So Shania Twain, every time that comes on, you know, man, I feel like a woman. I just, you know, instantly takes me back to every lineup that we did at the Ryde Aquatic Centre. Yeah, the first game, I don't know. It's hard to describe it. Even to this day, I find it really hard to kind of articulate what those feelings were and where we were. But I suppose what I do remember is standing up with 12 other women on the side of the pool and just feeling like we all won. Like I just felt like we had a bit of a journey to get to Sydney and a bit of a fight to get there. And, you know, nothing was ever perfect before Sydney too. And I think we had to go through that as a team. So once we finally got there, we were just like, yeah, let's do this and work together. Looking up at the crowd and seeing all your family and friends there that had come and supported you as well was pretty special. And I think the crowd only grew, obviously grew to the gold medal game, but even every game at Ryde, it just seemed to be more and more people every time.
And you obviously built momentum throughout the tournament. You always believed you could do it. Coming into the gold medal game. Tell us about some of the lead-up games.
Yeah, so we played Russia in the semi-finals. So we were down by 2 goals going into the fourth quarter. And I think it was probably my most memorable part of the Olympics, which would be surprising to hear because most people would think it's when Yvette shot the goal in the gold medal game, but was in that fourth quarter when we were playing Russia. And we had a timeout, and Isfan quickly kind of talked to us, but it was Bridget and the team, and we just huddled and we're just like, we've got to do this. And we dug really deep, and it kind of just turned, and the magic turned on. And yeah, I think it was Noam shot a goal from outside, then Bridget got the winning goal over, like, from centre forward, and shot it over the top of the goalkeeper's head. And then we had to keep him to no goal in their final attack. So Isfan had our strongest defensive team in the water, and he used to say, you're going in the trenches, you know, you've got to fight for each other, this is war. And that was pretty much what happened. We went in there, and then Mel Mills had the ball with about 9 seconds to go and was just swimming slowly up the pool to just end this game. And stepping into that, knowing that you're going into a grand final, knowing that you're going to come away with a gold or a silver, that feeling, I'll never forget that.
And going into that gold medal game after the close call against Russia to get into the gold medal game, what was the feeling of the team unit like?
It was pretty much don't take anything for granted. Anything can happen. We're at the Olympics, you know, where every second, every attack, every defense counts. And there was a lineup, what I'd probably call the green room before the gold medal game. So we were lining up against the Americans. I remember just feeling really relaxed, and the whole team we were what we always were. And it was just, we were relaxed, and you could feel the energy through the team just going, yeah, we've got this, knowing that we had a lot of hard work in front of us to get through that game though.
And that hard work, down to the last couple of minutes, down to the last dying seconds. Tell us about your memories of those last 30 odd seconds in the gold medal game.
I don't even know if I can remember the last 30 seconds. I definitely remember the last second. I think Brenda Villa scored a shot from extra man, and that was what tied the game. So I remember being in extra man defence, just going, oh my God, we're going to go into overtime at an Olympics final. And then we went down into attack, and I think Bridgie scored, she shot a goal and it wasn't qualified. And then, and then the ball went back out the top, and that just let this pocket rocket go from out the top. And it actually went over my head and my defender's hand, like it missed my defender's hand. So I remember just looking at it going, holy shit, it's in the back of the net. This is insane. And then going, oh, okay, we've got 1 second left on the clock. They can't score. And so, you know, you go into that fear of, oh, imagine if they, you know, shoot a long bomb from the other end of the pool and it goes in. So, it was pretty amazing. And like Evie, you probably heard it. She was just one of those players that at training always did the extra mile, and that was her thing. Like, she'd sit at the top and she'd just put shot away after shot after shot after shot. And I think every school kid I spoke to after that Olympics, they're like, how did she do it? And I'm like, she just practiced and did the extra work. So when it came time for it to happen, it wasn't even about thinking about it. It was just taking the shot.
I've been told that a few of the girls would get upset. They'd be waiting on the team bus to leave and she'd still be in the water shooting goals. I bet no one was upset after she shot that last one.
Yeah, cold nights in Kuana, we'd be like, hurry up a bit.
Tell us about the celebration. Tell us about the celebration after the pandemonium that occurred after that last second of the game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I just remember being in the pool, and it was all a little bit crazy, to be honest with you, but looking up at the crowd, and just it was almost like jelly of green and gold, the crowd and the roar that happened. And I've got no words for it. I do, because we were quite close with the American team too. So they came over and we had a training camp at Quina Waters before Sydney. And, I do flip it sometimes and go, and that's just heartbreaking for them as well. So, but yeah, in terms of what it felt like at the time, that's pretty much the highest moment you can get to in sport.
And tell us about the water polo family in general. Like you've had a lifetime involvement in water polo with your brother being a dual Olympian, as you mentioned. Also, the water polo family of the girls and the coaching staff, and even the USA team. Tell us a bit about how important and close those bonds are.
I think in terms of water polo, the best thing that it can come out of it is your community that you have within water polo. And I think it's something in terms of sport, it's a sport that you'll always have a community in. So moved from Melbourne up to the Gold Coast. We moved up 10 years ago. I had 2 small young children and was pregnant with my third. Didn't really know anyone on the Gold Coast. Well, didn't think I knew anyone at the time. And then, I had a couple of the girls reach out to me saying, oh, you're here, jump in the pool on a Thursday night. And it's just been that easy transition in life where you kind of feel connected to people within that water polo community. In terms of, my coaches along the way, I had Albie Morrison and Danny Clark from Footscray Swimming and Water Polo Club. Obviously, both big water polo families there themselves. Had my brother who helped me along the way, and then the Obermans over in WA. So I just feel like I've got all these little different pockets of families that I was lucky enough that they opened up their doors and just brought me in. And without that, I wouldn't have made it to the Olympics. So it's hugely important to me.
Jo, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations again on celebrating 20 years since you won that epic gold medal.
Thank you.